Great Lakes Now News Director Natasha Blakely and Toronto-based contributor Sharon Oosthoek checked in with U.S. and Canadian parks to bring us this update. One thing the pandemic produced: more visitors.
Many entertainment options have been closed to people, and as a result, a lot of people have been turning to outdoor recreation instead to find an outlet. And that's really shown in the visitor numbers at national parks all over the country, but especially around the Great Lakes area. And parks that are more easily accessible, like Indiana Dunes National Park or Cuyahoga Valley National Park, there's been a visible spike in the number of people there. Indiana Dunes National Park had a notable increase in visitors from Illinois specifically when Chicago had its beaches closed. And in parks that aren't so COVID friendly, where you might have to get there by boat or plane, like Isle Royale or Apostle Islands, they didn't see that same spike. Isle Royale even had its ferry closed for the entire year.
Here in Canada, many of our parks were closed early in the pandemic. But when they started reopening in a staggered fashion starting June 1st or so, they were really popular. People were flocking to them. I know in Ontario, the Ontario parks around the Great Lakes saw a 7% increase in their car camping bookings. And this was despite the fact that in each park they reserved some campsites for social distancing, meaning they weren't allowing booking on these sites at all. So you would go into these parks and you would find, nobody next to you and nobody across from you, for instance. And yet they still had a 7% increase. They also saw a 29% increase in backcountry camping. And these are sites that you can't drive into. You have to canoe or backpack into. So it's not surprising they saw such a huge jump in these sites because they're quite remote and it's really easy to social distance out there.
The parks are all still dealing with high water and erosion issues. And when you have increased visitors coming to see the various attractions and use the resources at the parks, but you end up having to close popular beaches or popular trails because of high water, that's just kind of a struggle for them to deal with.
Yeah, on the Canadian side, the parks that saw the most problems with high water and erosion were those on Lakes Erie and Lake Huron. They saw shrinking beaches due to the high water levels. When I was up on the Bruce Peninsula on the weekend, I was standing out on what used to be like a 50-foot stretch of sand. It's now underwater. And on the Georgian Bay side, I know that they had to close some trails because they were washed out. And also, I was talking to park staff yesterday and they said that Wheatley Provincial Park, Craigleith, and Owanda Provincial Park all had significant reductions in their day use areas because their beaches were just, swamped, which meant they had to reduce the number of visitors. They actually had to turn people away. Well, up at Bruce Peninsula National Park, there were huge lineups all summer. My neighbors were turned away, I know, several times. But the August long weekend, they were utterly overrun. Park staff told me they had to turn away 2,000 vehicles. And you could see them lining Highway 6 up and down on the way to the park. That was in part because of the eroded beaches, yes, and in part just because it was so popular. People just wanted to get out there.
At Great Lakes Now, we aim to cover the Great Lakes region and the people who live here, like you. Please follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and sign up for our newsletter at greatlakesnow.org.